Tanya?
Ty. You can call me Ty.
Ty? Okay. I didn't know if
Yeah.
I should call you Cajun Mama or
You
something.
can call me Cajun Mama Ty. You can call me anything. Hey, that's fine. Hey guys, this is Cajun Mama Ty. Yes, I am here with Mr. Clay Stafford. He is the founder of Killer Nashville, which is the awesome conference that Fancy and I went to back in August. Before all of the disaster that happened here in Louisiana, and before all the crazy things that have gone on in the last 3 months in my life. But that's for a whole nother story to tell. We had such an awesome time at the conference. And so we're here interviewing Mr. Clay today, and I am super excited. So first off, I want you to just tell me about yourself. Tell me, how did you come about getting Killer Nashville started?
Well, I have been a writer and a filmmaker and an actor and a music composer, and I've been in the entertainment industry most of my life. I started out as a kid actor, and as I got older, I decided that I wanted to teach, so I taught at got my MFA and taught at several universities as well, talking about my previous experiences working at Universal Studios and PBS and working with various publishing companies, and ended up getting my work into 14 languages. I think I've sold like 3 to 4 million copies of my books, and I decided that I really wanted to create a conference where I grew up in a rural environment on a farm, really rural environment, Appalachian situation, and I felt that I really, after coming back from California, I decided that I wanted to create a writers' conference that focused on helping people who normally really needed the help to find a way, because I can remember those times just walking down the railroad track, which is very dangerous, and I still do it here where I live, but walk and read at the same time, and you just kind of listen for the train whistle to blow, and then you get off the track. But when you grow up in that sort of environment, you never think that there's anything beyond that you're able to go beyond that. And so what I wanted to do was to create a writers conference where there would be potentially people who were like me when I was much younger and not know where to go, and then it sort of expanded and grew in my mind. Well, what if we've got somebody who's, say, a B-level author and wants to go to A-level, or A-level and wants to go to beyond? And so we ended up creating and building Killer Nashville, which is goes for 4 days. It's got 5 tracks that run concurrently. We have a forensic department because we're focused on elements of mystery, thriller, and suspense. Now, that doesn't mean that we just concentrate on mysteries, because we have sci-fi, horror, Southern Gothic, which is one of my favorites.
Right.
So we have several different tracks of things for people who are just starting out, all the way to people who are very much established and just want to work on their publicity.
Right. How did you get started? What brought you to like crime and mystery and that genre of writing? What brought you there?
I think it's now that's a personal journey for me, and I think it's a extension of my roots, being a Southern kid, growing up with Southern tales, Southern Gothic, and regardless of what the stories that, say, my grandmother used to tell me continuously, she was full of stories, as you know, how Southern storytellers, are stereotyped, but they really are.
Yeah.
all of it was based upon some sort of horrific or crime or some sort of event that took place. I mean, someone had to fall, off the railroad
Exactly.
track and pop their head off, and what
Right.
happened. So
Right.
I think for me it was an extenuation of where I came from that mountain range full of stories.
I
And there's a lot
understand
of
totally.
violence in
Yeah,
that.
I understand totally because I'm from South Louisiana, so I was born and raised in South Louisiana, and I've always, I was a nurse for 29 years, and decided after having some health issues, and I couldn't go back into nursing. And I mean, I was on the Gypsy case with Francesca and the Good Wives. We started the podcast. We did all of these things. I found, writing was peaceful to me. And going to the conference, I realized that my passion is in writing, believe it or not.
Oh wow, and that's perfect. That's exactly what we want.
And I'm going to be honest and tell you, I'm gonna tell you a secret, but we're
Okay.
going to let it out
You're
here
about
right
to-
now.
You're not telling me. You're telling like the whole world
And I'm
here,
telling,
right?
I'm going to tell everybody our secret. Francesca and I last week signed a book deal with a publisher, and we are going to publish the Gypsy Rose Blanchard tell-all book.
Wow.
And
Congratulations
so
to you.
we are currently working on that, and it has been amazing. It's amazing to think that, I have an editor who looks at all my writing, who is impressed with my writing, and I haven't written a thing since college, probably 10, 15 years, and she is like, you know how to write, you're writing, you're doing well with it, and so it has just boosted my self-confidence. But to be honest with you, I spoke to a lot of people at the conference. Fancy and I made lots of connections at Killer Nashville, and it's through your conference that gave us the confidence and the push to go ahead
Wow.
and do what we needed to do to get the book published. And we always, it was always in the back of our mind, and it was always, we're gonna do it. We just couldn't find, we couldn't find the right person, and this person found us, and this person came to us, and this person said, I heard about your story. I've read what y'all have done. I've listened to your podcast, and we want to sign y'all. And with a lot of going back and forth connections, we decided to go ahead and sign, and we did last week. And so we're super excited, and we want to definitely thank you and all the people at Killer Nashville for giving us, all the thumbs up. Thumbs up. You threw it thumbs up, because we are definitely one of those people that have gotten a lot out of that conference. But I mean, it's something that 2 years ago I had to give up a career that I thought I would do forever. After 29 years, I had to hang up my nursing cap, because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't physically, and I couldn't emotionally, mentally do that job anymore. And to be able to start a whole new career at 52 and do something that is meaningful is just unbelievable to me. So hats off to you, and hats off to Killer Nashville.
Well, thank you so much.
And
well, hats off to you.
We will always, we will be at Killer Nashville telling our little story every year that you
That's
want us there. We will
Absolutely.
be there.
You are welcome anytime. Anytime.
Yes, indeed. So how long has Killer Nashville been around?
We started in 2006.
Okay.
And
So y'all been around a fairly long time.
yeah, and I decided right before, about 3 months before the conference itself, I was having lunch with someone from one of the community relations managers at Barnes and Noble, and I told him what I was thinking, and so he said, you ought to do it. So I came home and told my wife, and I had an assistant that worked with me at the time, who has since passed on, but he was with me at the time, and I said, Eddie and Jacqueline, let's do a writers conference. And so 3 months later we put it together, very first one at the hotel.
At the hotel. And everything went well,
Everything went well. I immediately, one of the things that is really important to me is that we portray law enforcement, forensics, the criminal justice system, all of that in all of its glory, and then sometimes its shame, in a very accurate light.
Right.
And so from the very beginning in that conference of 2006, I contacted what I call the government alphabet, the FBI, the CIA, the TBI, local law enforcement jurisdictions, as well as county and state, and got great support for Killer Nashville, because they believe the same thing I do, that when we write something, it shouldn't be like a television show where it looks like it all just kind of pieces easily together. It actually needs to be something that's accurate for, if you are, say, a police officer and you decide to read this mystery, I want you to believe that it's actually, could take place.
Right.
Because so many times, as a nurse, for example, you can watch some TV shows and go, that's not what they do. And that's exactly what I did not want for our new writers that were coming in. So beginning even in 2006, we had the support of federal and local law enforcement and judicial support for Killer Nashville in order to help all of our attendees, depending on, doesn't matter what they're writing, to be able to portray it accurately. But that started in 2006 and has been our model since that time.
Right. And what I found very interesting throughout the whole weekend was all the writers were very, the people that you had speaking, the people that you had in the little breakout sessions and things, were all very eager to share their stories and share their personal things that have happened to them and how they got to writing and stuff. So kind of tell me, how do you go about picking and choosing the people that you have to present at Killer Nashville?
Well, one of the things they have to have, I don't want to say, overuse the trite phrase of a servant's heart, but you almost have to have a servant's heart to be able to come and present at Killer Nashville. Because everybody who comes to Killer Nashville, from law enforcement to best-selling authors, has to agree ahead of time before they come in that they will exchange contact information. They will exchange business cards. They will be open to helping other people and answering questions. They will be available not just for their event, but throughout the entire weekend to help the people who are there and answer questions and support and give encouragement. So it's a vetting process. And I have in the past looked at some really nice people that I thought would be great for Killer Nashville, but they just don't have that spirit
Right.
that
Right.
I am looking for in that conference. So many people have referred to Killer Nashville as a family.
Definitely. Definitely. I saw that. I saw how even the people at the conference themselves, how they we made friends with quite a few people. We made contacts with people, but we made friends with people, like and we have people from all over. Like, we have Roger that we met, and he lives in Miami, and we have Ira, she lives in Nashville. So we have we have people that we met that live in Missouri that are that are helping us with some of the case things, that they know people about the Gypsy case. So we've met people that we didn't even think we would have any more connections to make, and we still making, so
Wonderful.
it was very eye-opening to us. It was something new, it was something different, and I think it was the best decision that we ever made. Going and sending that email to, I think we sent it out, I think it was Fancy that sent it out, and said, hey, this is what we have to offer, and we would love to present at y'all conference. And when y'all bid on it and y'all said, yes, definitely, we'd love to have y'all, we were like overly excited about it. And she and I got together, and I'm like, I want to go. I really want to do this. And I was not, and Fancy can tell you, I was a back seat, way far in the back of the bus of the Good Wives. If people go and listen to the podcast in the Gypsy Blanchard podcast in our first season, the only time you'll hear Cajun Momma is when I do my recipes and I do my little Cajun stories. You won't hear me on the podcast itself because it was just too emotional and too raw for me, because I was just too attached to the story. And I just couldn't get in there and be in there with them and talk about it. Now that it's been this long, and it's been 5 years now, it's been a lot of research, a lot of self-reflection. I've learned that it's okay for me to talk about it now, and I've learned that it's okay that I can come on here and I can interview somebody by myself, and I can do the same thing that the other ladies were doing. And so in the last 6 months to since really Killer Nashville, I have stepped up, and the girls can tell you I have I have my roots, and I stand my ground, and I say I'm gonna do it, and when I tell you I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. This book is very important to us. This book will be out. We will have a book out, and it will work. And we're just over the moon about it, and just excited about the whole thing.
Well,
And
when you guys came there, you were you guys are a perfect example of the kind of people that we welcome at Killer Nashville, because when you were there, you were so giving and open to talking to everybody. I remember you right outside the bookstore. You were, as people walked in, you were talking to everybody, and then you and I had quite a few laughs.
yes, definitely.
And
We
So
had you on. We had you on the podcast. I said, "Come on, come on, you gotta at least show your face." We read your. We also read your beautiful, your beautiful letter that you wrote in the book. We did that, and that will be included in this interview. We will read that again. Fancy did read it. It was heartfelt. It was very, very emotional. Kind of really. I mean, and I really didn't know you that well, and I was like, he's got a sensitive side to himself, and so I was really touched, and so I was really, really glad about just the whole process of being, just being there and experiencing the whole conference itself. It was just amazing. But let's talk about that letter you wrote. Do you remember that letter you wrote?
can you refresh me a little bit?
It talks about. It's hard to believe that Killer Nashville's 2021 is finally here. It talks about how you. It talks about COVID, and it talks about how. For the past 2 years, I've lost myself in stories, fiction and non-fiction, by you, who I think of more than attendees, but as guests and family. I've shared many moments with many of you, and all the way back to when I started this conference in 2006 and before. I see many years ahead of us. I see Killer Nashville as an opportunity to heal and move forward. It is a time to get together and share like minds. I've been isolated for too long, and Zoom doesn't cut it for me. For me, a spiritual, focused person, it takes me back to the most basics. In the beginning was the Word. That has a meaning to me that maybe it doesn't to others. But to me, with all its ramifications, print, spoken, a glance of an eye, it is what gets me through the night. So I guess you, like all of us, have struggled these last 2 years with COVID and being quarantined and Zoom meetings and not being able to physically get in touch with each other. And I'm sure at one point in time there was a question mark if Killer Nashville 2021 was even going to be able to be done,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And how did you come about the decision to go ahead and say, we got to do it. We just got to do it?
Well, number one, I have known many of these people before 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, Killer Nashville's a lot. It's all about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Much more than anything else. It's about relationships. And my number one concern is always to make sure that the guests who come, that my friends who come, the family that comes is well protected. So
yes.
We worked with a hotel. We made a decision that we could put safety protocols in place. Mm-hmm. That would make sure, because some of our demographic, as you know, are higher risk.
Right, definitely.
They're older. Some
mm-hmm.
of them are older retirees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, similar to what you said about yourself, even that you.
Right.
Not that you're old, but that you have
my health issues. Yes.
You're shifting to a new career.
Right.
And so it's not like you're a college student or something like that.
Right.
And so it's important to me to be able to protect everybody. So I had to feel 100%, more than 100%, that it was safe. That's number one. That's number one. The year before, we canceled and rolled everybody over into the next one because I did not feel it was safe. And the worst thing I could think of is that one of my friends, and I call you my friend, I call everybody coming my friend, one of my friends falls ill or something due to something because for me, that brings my own personal karma back to me. And so I'm very conscientious about that.
Definitely.
So, number one was safety. Number two is I really felt once we got that covered, people had to need to get out of the house. And we have really a diverse group that comes to Killer Nashville, as you well saw.
Right.
And what I think it was really important, not only in just the COVID and getting out, is the fact that we bring a diverse group together and show that we're all there for the same thing.
Yes, definitely.
We are there because, to me, writing, and I think you would agree with what I think is a spiritual calling. I
Definitely.
do.
Definitely.
And you feel a calling to the book you're writing right now. And I think that those things that you are writing actually change people's mind. They expand people's mind. They make people more aware, more compassionate.
Right.
I think it's vital for that. And so I think coming off COVID, coming off a lot of contentiousness in our society, that it was time to bring people back together and say, hey, let's talk about love. You know what I mean?
Yes,
let's
definitely.
talk about the things that matter, the things that are common about us, and the bigger picture, which is to share different points of view and different perspectives and different stories with others. And how do we do that? And so that's how we ended up getting together this past year.
That is definitely that. You are so right. That is awesome, and we were so happy because we were supposed to do right after Killer Nashville. We were supposed to do another conference like back to back, and they ended up canceling the other conference, and we were so disappointed. But to be honest with you, it's probably better they did because I left Killer Nashville, went to Kentucky with Fancy, and had to leave to come home because there was a hurricane, and my home got totally destroyed in Hurricane Ida.
So sorry.
Yes. So my home was destroyed in Hurricane Ida. So I left. I came home. I had just enough time to get a few things together, make sure my two daughters were fine, and pack up with my mom and my dad and leave and go to my sister's. And then in the middle of the night of the storm coming, it was a category 4, almost a 5 at 4 o'clock in the morning. My brother-in-law woke us up and said, "Come on, we leaving because we don't know, we can't stay. And so at 4 o'clock in the morning, we left and we drove to Texas, and we stayed in Texas for a week. We came home, and my mom and my dad's home is livable, and I have since moved about an hour away from my children because that's the closest place I could find a rental to be able to stay in. But I'm okay. It was stressful. We were 6 weeks with no electricity. We were almost 4 weeks with about 2 weeks with no water. 6 weeks with no electricity. It was, but it's South Louisiana. That's what we live. This is how. This is just part of. This is our life. Hurricanes are part of our life. but this is the first time in 52 years that I've ever lost a
That
home.
hit you right on.
Yeah, like I've never come home to nothing. I've never come home to nothing, and it was really devastating. But God is good. God is good, and He provides for us. And I have come a long way, and so He is. Everything's okay now. I have a roof over my head. My children are fine. My mom and my dad are good, and we're on our way to recovery. Our community, my people are damaged. They're hurting still today. You still have people living in tents. It's still kind of bad, but it's a slow process. It's a slow process, but it's coming along. It's coming along. We are lucky that we are taken care of, and we are going to be fine. That's what my whole spew was in the beginning about the trauma of everything. It was really after Killer Nashville, and that's why we kept every time we had to reschedule, because it was just I either didn't have internet or I couldn't have it's horrible. It was horrible. But we got you all covered, and we got you interviewed, and we were so happy. We couldn't wait to be able to share with you the fact that we have all this good news going on for the good wives, and Fancy and I, how we are just over the moon about it, and can't wait for this book to come out. We can't say much more than that. That it's a work in progress. So
Yeah, well, it always is. Up until they do the final printing, it's a work in progress.
Yes, and it's a process. It's a process, and we're learning. We also have a lot of really, really. We have a lot of other things going on. We're working on a bunch of other cases. I'm actually working on another Munchausen syndrome by proxy case. Lacey Spears, she's deemed the salt mom. She murdered her 5-year-old little boy, poisoned him with salt. She's in New York, in a female prison, and I'm actually have communication with her, and we're talking back and forth, and so we're looking, we are looking at a lot of things. We got a lot of good things.
Emotionally draining things pulling you in multiple directions.
Yes, but I'm okay with that. I love doing stuff like that. I guess I like psych stuff. Like, I like compassion. I have compassion, but yet I have compassion for the disease, but I don't have compassion for the what she did. You know what I'm saying? I think, if that makes any sense. I have compassion because I know she's mentally unstable, just like Gypsy. And it's hard for the girls to understand that too. I have compassion because I know mentally they're not well. I know mentally, mentally they're not well. That's what I have compassion for. I don't have compassion for what they did. I don't have compassion for how they did things. And they definitely need to be where they're at. They definitely need to be persecuted or whatever. They need to stay where they are to be able to serve out their term and be able to pay for the crimes that they've committed. I just believe that they do deserve mental health help, which if they want it.
Well, that's sort of interesting. I had a conversation just yesterday with, I'm a writer in residence at an academy, and I meet occasionally with students, and one of the things yesterday was talking about villains, and some of the people that you're talking about could be just very flat villains, but that's not the case at all. They're very complex,
Right.
and nobody that I know of, including the worst villain in the world, ever wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to do something evil today. I'm going to do something bad today.
Exactly.
In their mind, they're doing the right thing. Now,
Right.
everybody else
Exactly.
may look and go, what in the world? But if you're writing that character or trying to understand that character, then you go, okay, they are operating on a operating system that's completely different from mine, and the problem is they don't see how off base that is. And I said to the students, getting back to you, you have to not only have compassion for your hero in the story,
Right.
you have to have compassion for your villain, because that's going to make a much more accurate and truthful drawing of a
Right.
particular character if you do that.
Right. And
So
the thing
the compassion is very important, and I think that's what I was talking about with Killer Nashville too. Bringing everybody together now, and you talked about the resilience. I just look at the resilience of the people who live where you live, in what they're coming back, and that's why we brought Killer Nashville back together, because we are resilient and we are compassionate. And I think for a good writer, for a good person, you have that compassion that you have for, you see the crime, but the crime also is not necessarily the individual. There's two completely different things that are going on there. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
Definitely. So I guess this is kind of, we're gonna wrap it up. Is there anything you would like to tell our viewers?
Well, the only thing I would say is, I think personally that Killer Nashville is a charity of mine. I've never gotten any money or anything from that. I really believe in the cause itself, and the cause is the story. The cause is your story. So if my perspective, if I was going to leave anybody with anything, is tell your story just as you guys are telling your story. Congratulations again on your book deal.
Thank you.
You guys are telling your story. I would like your viewers to never lose faith in themselves, believe in themselves, and if you feel that you've got that story, then I would say that it goes much deeper than that, that there's a reason that you feel that way, and you need to tell that story. And I encourage all your viewers to, if they feel that, tell that story. It's very important.
Definitely. And I so appreciate you coming out and having me interview you today. And we cannot wait to be at Killer Nashville 2022. And we will present. We may end up presenting a whole different case at 2022.
Why don't we start working on that now?
Well, that's the thing. We may. I already have something in this brain working already. I haven't presented it to the big boss yet. So I have to present it to the big boss first, and then if she says, "Oh, okay, we need to ask Clay if we could do that. She'll
Well,
send
I
you
will
an
be-
email, or I'll send you an email.
I will be eagerly awaiting that email.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Clay, and
Thank you.
it was great to see you again, and
Anytime.
we
I
cannot
love
wait
being
to.
I love being around you guys, so anytime you want to have me back, I'm happy to pop in.
Great. Thanks so much, Clay. You have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye bye.